Hi guys. So what happened overnight? Well, stocks got bid, as we noted the other day that after market, Microsoft and Google have announced their earnings, and even though Microsoft, and then we had Facebook announce their earnings, and despite a 15% drop, it was certainly very well bid. And I'll show you meta quotes. You can see a massive jump here. Well, you can see it here on the hourly on the 5 minute. So that helped stocks post a pretty good rally. Go figure. Really, there's so much FOMO trading in stocks, it's incredible. In reality, when you look at the data, things aren't so great. So we see the durable goods, which is okay, but that's inflationary. GDP, not so good, and pending home sales, abysmal. So there's despite everybody thinking the US economy is still going pretty strong and it's doing okay, things are starting to break. And you look at the financial system, and banks and cash on deposits all disappearing. People are storing money under their mattresses, I'd say. The US economy is, I think, heading towards recession, and there's no doubt about that. Tonight we'll get the Fed's favourite inflation figures, which is the core PCE price index. That's what the Fed follows for inflation. And remember, the Fed meets next week, right? So you've got the Fed coming out on Thursday with an expectation of another 0.25% interest rate rise, and that's going to put even more squeeze on the creditness of banks. And I was watching Peter Costello and John Anderson having a conversation the other day, and when you've got a debt the size of Australia has, and interest rates have increased by 4% or 3%, the bill on that debt is increased by $30 billion. Right now, $30 billion is pretty much what it costs to run Medicare for a year. So that's the Australian health system at a cost, right? And that's not being borne by the government, and the government's not doing anything about it. The government here in Australia are not making any policies to tighten their belts. So where is the money going to come from to not only pay the outstanding debt, but also continue to run the country like Medicare? When tax receipts aren't going to be huge because wages aren't increasing, and corporate accounts are trying to dodge tax as much as possible or offshore. So I think Australia's looking for trouble as well. Anyway, not to be too pessimistic about things. I do think that everything. Well, I don't think it's going to be okay, but I hate to be a pessimist. So, looking at price, let's just go through the currencies. So stocks are up. VIX is down. FOMO trading. Don't want to be the last one on the bandwagon of the stock market, but I think the stock market's wrong. Bonds, interest rates are rising again, thanks to that inflationary pressure, and we're seeing US dollar giving back some gains, pretty much going nowhere really. When you look at the daily, it's just tracking sideways as the dollar index. I guess not everybody is believing that the stocks should be rallying, otherwise the dollar would have tanked as against the safe haven. Dollar yen also not doing much, a bit of sideways action. and it's a bit of the theme across the board on all the majors. But we're looking for the pound and the euro to continue to rally and push up to those highs. Particularly if stocks are going to continue to rally, then the selling in the US dollar will be the theme. Aussie dollar well off that 60 cent range now, and is up against a bit of a resistance level here. It'll be interesting to see if it can make it through that. Let's get a horizontal on there and show you. So what I'm looking at is those lows there, right? So it's sitting on that right now. It'll be interesting to see if it can get back above that and retest 67. Otherwise, the 66 handle I think will soon disappear, and it'll be a 65 handle very shortly. Other than that, guys, hope you all have a good weekend, and we will see you next week. Cheers.